teams. Before meeting for the first time in September, students completed a survey provided to them online by their professor. The survey asked questions about past experiences in physical education classes. Students rated themselves based on their level of comfort and skill and named several of their favorite activities. Based off of this information, their professor grouped them into 4 even groups. This was a very effective way of grouping students. These teams remained the same over the 3 months of the first term of classes. Each team came up with their own team name and each member took on a specific role, knowing that their role was crucial for the team to function and move forward together.
Charge of something, and so they can't get less chance to get lost in the shuffle, I think.
Yeah.
And I think it's really good for even just confidence and such. Like, I am important to this team. Like, I'm a valuable member of it. Not even just on the court, but just in general. Like, I'm needed on this team.
So everyone adds something.
And responsibility.
Yeah.
The pickleball part, I think my team did just like throughout it. We would try to meet beforehand, and we were talking lots about it on Facebook. Try to get together as a team and everything. But the dance, I think we did about a week before. We just all came together. We knew kind of what we wanted to do because,
Ongoing friendly competition. Students were introduced to a point system that functioned as the motivation throughout the entire term. For every completed assignment, viewing of a video or reading of an article, and extra time spent practicing pickleball outside of class time, students were awarded points for their team. This chart was made using Google Drive. It was very encouraging for students to see their team's total point count rise, as the chart was automatically updated. It was also motivating to see their opponents' total point count rise, which then urged students to talk to their teammates and discuss how else they could earn points together by doing an extra assignment or by practicing outside of class time. Students were informed at the beginning of the term that the team that finished with the most points would be awarded a prize. This long-term, friendly competition worked to engage students and instilled in them a sense of responsibility for wanting to accomplish their work. Practice makes improvement. Pickleball was introduced to the class a bit at a time. The fact that they were brought back to pickleball every time they met as a class helped students improve as they were given many opportunities to practice. On most days, the class started early at 8 a.m. with drop-in pickleball. Students helped set up the courts, then played. They would spend a few minutes rallying back and forth as a warm-up, and then would divide the courts between the 4 teams. Over the term, students were introduced to various games and activities, each emphasizing an important concept to help them improve their pickleball skills. It was beneficial to students to be introduced to these useful skills in the context of a game, as it emphasized the importance of the off-the-ball movements. The idea of reading gameplays and putting ourselves into the right place in the court before the ball arrives in order to execute a successful shot was emphasized. To develop this idea, the model of read with anticipatory movements, respond by cover movement to where the opponent sends the ball, react to the ball as it arrives with adjustment movements, and then recover to a base-ready position in order to begin to read again. Through the different games played, the skills were reinforced and students all gained a deeper understanding of how the different learning domains, cognitive, affective, social, and psychomotor, were affected as each game involved tactical problems, skill cues, and peer coaching. Students got a lot better over time, and video footage of gameplay was used throughout the term to help guide student learning.
And it was great that it built up, right? Like, we started with very small things, like with the castle game and whatnot, and then we worked on that and we built on our skills rather than just having Dr. Hopper say, okay, well, this is how you do this, now do it a million times. Personally, as somebody who was not athletic and generally really terrible at all sports, it was great because I could see I was improving, I could feel I was improving, and it was very incremental rather than all at once.
Right.
So it was a lot easier to pick up on things.
Cool.
The whole idea of sport education, like after reading the article and everything, is that it slows down everything and expands it over a whole term, so that we can focus on those little skills that you're talking about, rather than just focusing on the game, but actually becoming better at the game.
Taking initiative. Each time the teams met, everyone assumed their role. The equipment director collected all of the required equipment for the activity. The manager made sure that all players were busy and that pairs or groups rotated. The coaches helped clarify instructions and pointed out skills that were done well or that needed improvement. The officials helped keep score and made sure that everyone knew how the points were calculated, and the team spirit members encouraged each player, boosting team involvement. These tasks were made clear to them at the beginning of the class, and over time, the responsibility became theirs completely. Each individual of the class was also responsible for tracking their own progress in the class. On the class website, an Excel chart had been created using Google Drive that students could edit from their own computers. Different skill-building games framed by tactical problems that students had played in class and the various levels of playing the game were listed on the chart horizontally, and students' names were listed vertically. Students were trusted to fill in the boxes that corresponded with the levels of the games that they had completed. Students were also given the chance to play each game with different types of balls that modified the difficulty to suit everyone. Once a column had been completed by a student, the team received points. Through this motivation of gaining points, students began to take initiative to practice and progress in order to win points for their team.
And just one of our teammates made up the dance for us, officially the dancer.
Oh, neat.
So,
Cool.
It was really simple though.
Neat.
While playing, we've been practicing all semester.
Yeah. But how would you describe the process that Tim and we all went through during the class to get to that end of it? Like, had you ever seen anything like that before or done that in school?
No, definitely not. I felt that it was in a way that you couldn't, you didn't even know sometimes that we were learning about pickleball. It was just we were learning fundamental movements in game settings that were really fun, but it was all aimed towards the final game of pickleball, which I think could be applied to any sport really. Is because they're all the same kind of movements, right? So
cool. And they were engaging. It wasn't just like here's a skill, practice it. We played with little games or something that made it more fun.
Culminating activity, the tournament. Throughout the entire term of classes, the 4 teams worked towards the culminating activity that took place in November at the end of the term, the Grand Pickleball Championship. This is where all of the aspects of sport education came together. Before the competition began, students performed their dances and cheers that they had prepared and displayed their team spirit posters and costumes. Would compete against had been predetermined, and opponents who had similar skill level played each other. Scorekeepers also modified the scorekeeping to make it more equal by using a handicap scoring system.
3-0, and then we pulled it back to tie the game.
And what did you do to do that?
That is, if you were up by 1 game, you were 15-0 down the next game. And if you were up by 2 games, you were 30-0 down the next game, etc. After each game, the record keepers returned their score sheets to the professor, and the game totals were calculated and displayed immediately on the computer projected onto the wall. To add to the excitement of the event, students who were waiting for their turn to play or scorekeep roamed and took pictures of the players using school iPads. Their images, with dynamic music, were then projected onto the wall. There were also teacher assistants who videotaped the whole event and acted as reporters, asking teams what their game plan was and how they felt after the last game.
What was your initial feelings about the model this course was going to have?
I was really excited about it. It's not something I had ever heard of before, and I, throughout my own phys ed experience in elementary school, I was never really satisfied because there was always the group of really athletic kids that the teacher taught towards, and then everybody else just kind of got left. So it was nice to know that everybody would have a role, and that it was going to be something different, so I was looking forward to learning about how that could be used.
After playing 3 rounds of games and allowing everyone to have a chance to play in scorekeep, the class met to announce the 2 teams that would advance to the final round. From the 2 teams that had earned the most points from the competition thus far, names were drawn randomly based on team ranking to decide who would play single rounds and who would play double rounds. All members from those 2 teams played, and the other members of the class cheered and kept score. After the final round, the class met again to announce the winners. Certificates and fun little prizes were awarded to the team that had earned the most points throughout the term, the team with the best team spirit, the best dressed team, the most improved team, the best officiating team, and of course, the team that had earned the most points from playing in the championship. The team that won the championship was awarded the Pickleball trophy, and their name and year was added to it.
I'm looking forward to the whole term thing. I think we're doing this next semester. Because I think that's what I think I'll do if I ever get a PE class. That's put the whole thing together and have something at the end. That you lead up to. Like some big goal, and then have everything leading different skills lead into it.
So having something that's a big.
By the end, all members of the class received a certificate acknowledging their achievements and a gift. Mine was a tin whistle.